Get out of here.
This is Elefunk. Say hi, Elefunk. Along with being a Webkins and thus making me nostalgic for a feeling of youth that I'll never get back, he's also an elephant. And here in Wuppertal today, I'm here with him to pay respects to a fallen comrade. A literally fallen comrade. But before we get into the elephant-related shenanigans, let's talk about one of the most unique features of the city of Wuppertal, the Wuppertal Dangle Train, or as the Germans like to call it, the Wuppertal Schwebebahn. You know what? I was in Cologne for Gamescom, and I figured, why not come to Wuppertal and see the one Gadgetbahn that actually makes sense? I couldn't have timed that better if I tried. But wait! I hear at least a few viewers yell, furiously reaching for their keyboards, responses surely very polite and filled with facts and logic, TM. Isn't this a monorail? Just saying the word even tastes a little garlicky. There's a lot of conventional ways to get around places. Bikes, trains, all manner of motor vehicles ranging from service vans to buses to cool old Mini Coopers to, for the more divorced and impotent among us, the Ford F-350. Then there are those who seek to create brand new, or at least seemingly new, transit modes. Ones that likely have an air of futurism and whimsy to them. And that's where we get Gadgetbahns, seemingly new transit modes that look sleek and high-tech, but in reality are only dubiously useful. We're talking about the Seattle Monorail, the Berlin S-Bahn, the Vegas Monorail, the Springfield Monorail. That's a lot of monorails. But these can also be other non-monorail unconventional modes. We're talking horizontal Japanese elevators, we're talking stupid-ass Tesla tunnels, even systems like the Chuo Shinkansen maglev being built in Japan right now, or even the Transrapid maglev test track that we used to have here in Germany, have often been called Gadgetbahns by critics. And in most cities, I think the Schwebebahn would probably be considered a Gadgetbahn. If this was Hamburg or Cologne or Berlin or Vienna, I'd probably ask, why not just build a tram line or a regular U-Bahn route? But thanks to history and geography, we'll see that for the most part, the Schwebebahn is probably the perfect system for the core of Wuppertal. Wuppertal is a very interesting place, because the core of the area is in a very narrow valley, divided by the aptly named River Wupper. As such, any method of transport in this area would have to play nicely with the tight geography, especially around the historic city center. Originally envisioned by an engineer named Carl Eugene Lungen and tested in Deutz, now part of Cologne, which you may know as that place where Gamescom happens, what we got as the Wuppertal Schwebebahn wasn't actually envisioned as the final concept. This version was originally just tested in a smaller form as a way to move things around Lungen's own factory in Deutz. Prominently, it features two wheels arranged in a row on each axle, and that hangs the main compartment off the tracks at a small offset. The version that Langen wanted to be the Schwebebahn, however, was a bit more stable and featured a proper set of four wheels, two on each side, hanging from a guided track that had two lips jutting out from it, making it not technically a monorail. The successors to the Schwebebahn, which can either be found in a few other German cities as H-Bahn systems, or even in a few places in Japan, use that system. I'm not exactly sure why Wuppertal went for the less complex earlier version, but I have a sneaking suspicion it probably had something to do with cost. Despite this, the Schwebebahn is very comfortable to ride on. Just looking at how it weaves through the Wuppertal area seems to make its existence make sense. Going between the regional rail stations at Oberbarmen and Vollwinkel, the vast majority of the 13.3 kilometer route actually hangs over the river for the vast majority of it. That's kind of wild to stand on a train platform and look down through the grating straight into rushing water. And the stations have very cool designs as well. I'll either feel right at home among the historic buildings of Wuppertal, or just straight up look futuristic to me. Also, overall the stations were spotless, certainly among the cleanest I've seen anywhere in Germany. Alright, it's time for elevator review, Wuppertal edition, and like pretty much everything with the entire Schwebebahn network. It feels really clean and really well maintained,
And also there's a view of the water. Yeah, this is, ooh, that was a lurch. But yeah, it smells clean. Good job, Wuppertal.
It's a system that knows it's both a means of local transport and also a popular tourist attraction. And its aligned, I think, is overall very well suited for that, especially in the historic city center. The trains have foamer windows at the back of them, and you can get easy views not only of the train depots and turnarounds on each end of the line, but there's also several very well-placed bridges along the route that feel tailor-made for Gadgetbahn foamer photography. The WSW, the group that operates the Schwebebahn, even sells officially licensed HO scale models of it. Hey love?
Yeah?
Can I get the Friedrich Engels commemorative Schwebebahn?
10,000 subscribers.
You heard it! I'd imagine these trains are nice to go on even if you're somewhat susceptible to motion sickness. Yes, there's a little bit of sway while in motion, but not nearly as much as I expected the first time I rode. And as many tourists as I saw taking videos and pictures, I also saw a lot of commuters just going about their days. A few more words of praise. Wayfinding, fantastic. Except this one station where the signs were out of order. Also, level boarding of spaces for wheelchairs and strollers. If the big blue dangly boy can do it, there's no reason the transit in your city can't. That's not to say the Schwebebahn has been without its problems though. Throughout research, I found reference to nearly 24 different wrecks and service stops over the past century. The most infamous one actually brings us back to the whole elephant thing you've probably seen throughout this video. So, way back in the year 1950, an organizer from the traveling Althoff Circus decided, as a publicity stunt, to take a performing elephant named Tuffy onto the Schwebebahn for the sake of advertising. Pretty impressively, the Dingle Dangle Express held the weight of the elephant, no problem. Unfortunately, when the train started moving, the poor thing got nervous and crashed out the back in a panic into the river below. Thankfully, nobody was injured by Tuffy themselves. However, the panic she caused by diving out the back of the train was so intense that multiple people were injured in the resulting surge trying to escape. This is also why, if you visit Wuppertal, you'll see elephant statues all over the place. Don't worry, Tuffy wasn't injured. Again, she was just shaken, and she actually ended up living until 1989, a very long life. That didn't stop other circuses from bringing strange animals onto the Schwebebahn though. Case in point, this alligator. Shifting tracks, I want to give a big shout out to Wuppertal Hauptbahnhof for being a legitimately nice train station to use. I was in Wuppertal during Gamescom. I was actually a speaker at DevCom again this year. Woo! Actually, I try to make my way there every time I go to Gamescom. It's a nice, quiet afternoon trip from Cologne. That's a nice break from the hustle and bustle of the convention. Ignore the numerous delays seen on the board here. That's a Deutsche Bahn problem, not a Wuppertal problem. The station here is typically really clean and has a really artsy interior. It looks kind of sci-fi to me. Wayfinding here is also good, and the fact that the station opens up directly into the pedestrianized city center is fantastic. The number of German cities that put a few blocks between the station and the city center is just ridiculous. Not to mention, but by being so walkable, it was super easy to get to my nearby luxury accommodation. And if you need to go farther out into the surrounding areas, there's also a bus loop on the top level of the station. Almost reminds me of a larger version of the setup back home in Stade. Something I've never seen in any other station in Germany though, is the rooftop park. That's right, if you go through the side track exit instead of the downstairs exit, you'll find a full-on park on top of Wuppertal Hauptbahnhof. It's another great place to take dangle train pictures, by the way. But wait, what's that? Is that an ugly urban road right through the city center? And is that a pedestrian bridge that's totally out of commission near a busy train station, forcing people to cross a busy multi-lane road to access the nearby pedestrianized area? And hey, these 4 stations near the Vollwinkel terminus aren't over the river. In fact, they almost look like they have enough space to support some tram tracks. And all of those are very astute observations. Good job, gold star, we did it! The Schwebebahn and the surrounding bus network are great for being within the rather compact Wuppertal city center and the areas directly around it, but things kind of fall apart when you try to go outside of that area. When my husband and I were staying in Wuppertal in 2023, we had a chance to hang out with some nearby acquaintances. However, due to infrequent bus services, even though they really shouldn't have been that far away, we opted to rent a car for that occasion. Wuppertal Civic Center is a beautiful, historic, and walkable area. However, no city is a monolith, and it's fair to say that perhaps more needs to be done for the region to reach its full transit potential, especially for those who live and work there. I want to give a special shout out to the now defunct Wuppertal Straßenbahn system. Yes, the Wuppertal area had trams and even a cog railway at one point, but starting in the 1950s, this was all slowly shut down. While it was eventually thought that by Wuppertal being part of the Rhine-Ruhr S-Bahn system, this would take over a lot of the traffic from the tramways, I think it's fair that S-Bahn systems and tramways are better suited for different types of journey. S-Bahn systems typically have proper stations that have at least a bit of distance between them, though they can operate metro-esque in major city centers, while tram lines are often street level with closer stop spacings, almost like higher capacity bus lines. The final tram line was closed in Wuppertal in 1987, nearly a decade after even Hamburg lost its last tram line. Well, technically with one exception. The Schwebebahn, which due to some concurrent routing on several lines, was also cited as competition for the trams. Anyone else find interesting how the Dangle tram is also sometimes listed as line 60 of the Rhine-Ruhr Stadtbahn system, by the way? I didn't know where else to slot that fun fact in. The big blue box here is numbered like a Stadtbahn, and you can write it using a Deutschland ticket, which is a fun little subscription that lets you ride most forms of transit in Germany, sans ICE trains and private transport like a Flixbus, and, you know, the Wuppertal tram system, because that doesn't exist anymore. Bring back trams in Wuppertal, like in Hamburg, just doesn't seem to be on the table right now, and that's a shame as well. The Schwebebahn itself is great for the city center, and the bus network is pretty good for a lot of nearby spots. I can't help but wonder if the Wuppertal Transit could perhaps better serve those who live in and around the city and help them live here on a daily basis. I know this is kind of a somber note, and I want to be clear that I still really like Wuppertal. I think it's a beautiful, relaxing system that's worth visiting, even if it's just an afternoon trip from Dusseldorf or Cologne. And I know I'll get the inevitable comment of, oh, well, that level of transport is amazing compared to what I have in Edmonton. Fair point. But public transport in proven cities are not a race. It's a process that is never over. It's a constant process, actually, of learning, advocating, improving, and sharing knowledge. Though, let's be real, in this day and age, local governments and their associated agencies improving transit is a necessity. And not doing so is being hostile to those who don't drive absolutely goddamn everywhere. And maybe it's also good to not allow people to make obvious big dumb mistakes, like taking easily frightened giant mammals onto a really cool hanging monorail. I guess that's the point I'm ending on today. Let's answer a viewer question. Hey Jamie, what's your thoughts on the Berlin M-Bahn? The M-Bahn was a very short monorail route that operated in Berlin at the end of the 80s, West Berlin, because this was a few years before reunification, and that definitely was a Gadgetbahn. So much so that when the city reunified, they got rid of it and replaced it with an U-Bahn line. And I mean, just look at how small these things are. Yeah, I know about the Berlin M-Bahn, and it sucked. But the Wuppertal Schwebebahn doesn't. You should all visit Wuppertal and ride the Schwebebahn and subscribe so I can get my Friedrich Engels commemorative Schwebebahn at 10K. Okay, thanks, bye.